Good afternoon, honorable adjudicators and debaters. Welcome to 2023 Maitreya English Debating Championship. Before we start the debate, we would like to make sure is Team ACS Jakarta B here and complete?
Oh, sorry, yes, we're complete.
Okay. Is Team Smandua Tangsel A here and complete?
Yes, we're here and complete.
Okay. Is Kak Christopher Jia here?
Here.
Is Kak Ahmad Kushai here?
Present.
Is Kak Angelia Giovanni here?
Here.
Is Kak Angga Jovanka here?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Is Kak Jessica here?
Here.
Thank you for the confirmation. The motion for today's debate is this House regrets the popular narrative of encouraging people to get out of their comfort zone. The chair adjudicator for this round is Kak Christopher Cha, accompanied by Kak Koshai, Kak Angelia, Kak Angga, and Kak Jessica. The government side of the House is from ACS Jakarta B, with Nathan Kusuma as the Prime Minister, Choi Soyon as the Deputy Prime Minister, and Giovanna Suwita as the Government Whip. The reply speech will be delivered by Choi Soyon. The opposition side of the House is from Smandua Tangsel A, with Karen as the Leader of Opposition, Kalisa Nada as the Deputy Leader of Opposition, and Runa as the Opposition Whip. The reply speech will be delivered by Karen. Before starting your speech, don't forget to state your POI preference, and please be advised that we will be recording parts of the debate for documentation purposes. We hope for your consent in doing so. To open the case of the government team, please welcome the Prime Minister, Nathan. To the Prime Minister, time is yours.
Okay. Hello, my name is Nathan Kusuma. My pronouns are he, him. I will be accepting POIs verbally, and the time for my speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Imagine being heavily pressured to do something that you're uncomfortable to do. In the government side, we're going to bring forward two arguments. First is why forcing someone to step out of your comfort zone is morally wrong, and second, why it will not help the person as an end result. Before I move on to my substantive points, I would first like to set up some points of framing in this debate. First, we define narrative as a common shared social belief that pressures people to do what the narrative is, which in this case is encouraging people to step out of their comfort zone. The opposition may say that the word encouraging means that is simply a suggestion. The person still has the choice. At the end of the day, it's their own freedom of will. However, they are forgetting that this is a narrative in which everyone in society is expecting you to follow this one thing, creating societal pressure. The word encourages in this case is not actually a free choice without bias. It is a choice with the pressure of society. We do not want any arguments from the opposition about how it's still their free choice, because it is in fact a choice influenced by societal pressure and not a choice out of the individual's freedom and desires. Number two, we define social pressure as a guilt that comes from not following the narrative. I want to make it clear from the start that the government is not saying stepping out of your comfort zone is bad. However, we are emphasizing that the choice to step out should be of your own will and uninfluenced from society. It should be freedom of choice, not from societal pressure. Our model is one where people have their own internal motivation to step out, and the motivation is not coming from pressure from society, as that is simply wrong. The comfort zone refers to a state in which the person is already living a comfortable life. They have family members, they have a stable income to do whatever they are comfortable to do. And this narrative applies to an average person with normal levels of motivation and not extreme cases. Moving on to my first argument, which is why it's morally wrong to pressure someone out of their comfort zone. Why is it fundamentally wrong? An average person is content in their comfort zone. They are comfortable living as they are and have no reason to change, no reason to step out of that zone. And stepping out of your comfort zone, despite how uncomfortable it is okay as long as it's from your own motivation, because it's fully consensual and because they have deemed themselves ready to step out, not to please. And it's not the purpose is not to please someone else's expectations or needs. It's not to please society. It's morally and ethically wrong to pressure someone by societal pressure to do something they are simply uncomfortable to do, because their personal boundaries at that point is violated, because they do not have a freedom of choice, as it is heavily biased by what society expects them to do. And because this is a narrative, people will feel guilty of not doing it. And this leads to a heavily influenced decision. This is particularly long because leaving your comfort zone is a risk. It can lead to success or it can lead to failure. Pressuring people to take that risk can have a traumatic or negative experience, which is wrong. Why? Because imagine you step out of your comfort zone being pressured by someone, and then you fail. You step back into your comfort zone. The opposition may say, isn't that okay? There's no harm in stepping out. However, the person will be less likely to step out of their comfort zone next time, even if it's from their own motivation. It's wrong because they should have the choice. They should have the decision of whether they are ready or not to take that risk. The opposition again may say that simply encouraging people to leave their comfort zones is a choice. However, remember, this is a social narrative, and by this logic, the person would be pressured by not just one or two people from like family members, but by society as a whole. It'll cause them to feel underachieving just because they don't leave their comfort zones. It's unfair and unjust to the person who should have the choice of whether they are ready or not to step out. It's morally wrong. And next, moving on to my practical argument, which is why pressuring people out of their comfort zone will simply not help the person at all. Again, I would like to emphasize, stepping out of your comfort zone is a risk. It can be negative or positive, and it should be up to that person whether they are ready to take the risk. The opposition may say that there are already many success stories told in platforms such as social media where people are pushed out of their comfort zones and are now living a comfortable life. These examples are used to pressure people to step out of their comfort zone. But what the opposition will fail to recognize is that in social media, are there any stories of failure? No, because only the success stories are told. This is why it's a social narrative, because people will think that you're likely to succeed when in reality that is completely not true, which is why we as the government think this motion should stand. We, as the government, think that stepping out of your comfort zone is more likely to succeed when it's out of your own will, because you know when you yourself are ready. You will have the motivation to adjust to this new zone that you step out of, rather than trying to adjust while uncomfortably pushing your mental boundaries. When uncomfortably trying to adjust while pushing your mental boundaries, it will simply not improve the person's situation. Why? Because there's a difference between pushing your mental boundaries out of your own motivation and pushing your mental boundaries for something that you yourself may not even want, but you are expected by society to do so, and hence it feels right to do, when in reality, it's not. One has positive motivation while one has negative pressure. This negative pressure will eventually get stronger and stronger as you step out of your comfort zone and realize that there is no guarantee you will succeed, especially when you yourself might not even want it. This will simply lead to a mental burnout, which is redundant to the original purpose of this which is stepping out of your comfort zone in order to improve. Our model is one where people step out of their own motivation. It's one that's morally right, does not violate people's freedom of choice, and it is one where the person gets to decide for themselves whether they are ready or not to step out. They will, and even if they are not successful after stepping out of their comfort zone, which is our model's worst case scenario, they will be satisfied with trying because they are trying out of their own motivation. They will be proud of trying, and they will learn from mistakes that caused them to fail out of their own choice. However, failing when pressured by society will only lead to bitterness, which is a bad mental state. With that, I am proud to propose.
The Prime Minister spent 7 minutes and 15 seconds to open the case of the opposition team. Please welcome the Leader of Opposition, Karen. To the Leader of Opposition, time is yours.
Before I further come to my case and explaining my case, I would deeply apologize to the wait, I'm sorry, I'm going to choose very fast first. for giving the POI at the last 6 minutes. I didn't acknowledge that. I'm really sorry for that to the Prime Minister. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so yeah, my preferred pronouns is she, her, and I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Panels realize that in the current we live in, the people that are staying in the comfort zone tend to hide behind their fears, which means they hide and walk away from their highest potential they could have. Thus, while on our side of the house, we do not regret the popular narrative of encouraging people to get out of their comfort zones. And our stance is here. We do not regret the popular narrative of encouraging people to get out of their comfort zones. And our goal in here is firstly, our ultimate goal in here is to give a society more proof of a discovering of their full potential. And then few point of characterization from the opposition side today is that firstly, what is comfort zone? Comfort zone is basically a zone where someone feels safe, feels familiar and certain. We feel like in this zone, we feel calm in our own safe place. And then when we are in this zone, we tend to feel like wanting to move out of it, or etc. And then today's the opposition side of the house will bring 2 arguments. And firstly, what is comfort zone and what does the people in there look like? And then secondly, how is the comfort and secondly, what would the comfort zone reflect on the people in there in the society? And so firstly, the first argument then, what is comfort zone and what does it look like? Comfort zone is basically a situation where you actually have oh my god, I'm so sorry. Can I restart my speech? Something bad happened. I'm continuing my speech with my rebuttal of what they stated. Okay, so sorry for the inconvenience. What they stated, they state that it can lead people not to get success because they are pressures. Yes, you're right. We don't deny in opposite side of the house. We don't deny that they are pressures, but we strongly can agree that the fun is that you said like they wouldn't success and how because they are pressured because people pressure them. Yes, you're right. Of course there would be some kind of pressure from people, but we won't pressure you that much that to the point that you are stressed out to actually doing something. And I think and we think from our no thank you from Giovanna Zuita and realize that in your comfort zone you can when you say that you can get success if you are pressured. Realize that by staying in your comfort zone, you literally don't try to do anything. You don't try to change anything. It happens your life, and realize that these things it stays the same. You are stagnant. You are stuck in your zone, and you don't do anything at all. And how could you say that get out by feeling pressure is not gonna make a success? While it's also occur on both sides of the house, we can guarantee other people's success. It happens in both sides of the house. I need that consideration from the adjudicator also. And I'm moving on to my principal argument. What is comfort zone? Comfort zone is basically a situation where you actually have some sort of feel of comfortable. What is comfortable? Comfortable is actually exist in the first place because realize that you there are comfort. You feel like you there or you comfort with something because in this comfort zone you are defending yourself. You try to protect yourself, i.e. maybe you are fail in love, maybe you're falling in love with someone, but it is fail at the end of the day, and you're afraid to open your heart for the second time. And it's also happened when you are having some short act maybe you are joining a competition and you are lost. You don't want to try it again because you feel traumatized. You feel like, oh my god, I don't win. I feel afraid or etc. And what is the people would look like after that? With the example I given before, you're stuck in your comfort zone because you may have seen failure in your previous experience. This fail make you want to close yourself from something that is hurt you, that is a little bit make you sad. Why do you want to feel I know thank you? And then when they are actually when you are feel hurt by something that has happened to you, you want to protect yourself, right? You don't want to face it anymore because you know that you'll be hurted more and more over. But this is make you sad, aren't you? You will feel like I shouldn't try it because why do you feel sad at the same time? At the first place, realize that in this case, when you're fail at something, when you got rejection, you got things and similar like that, why does it make you sad? Because realize that you work hard for something, but you betray at the end. You work hard is means to nothing, and your effort means meaningless. This would make you sad, rejection, and etc. Make you feel like what you do is is left out meaningless, and like people, you feel like you don't appreciate it, and etc. But at the end of the day, we as opposition side, we do not deny that also. We agree with your status quo that they are pressure, they are sad. Yes, they are. But what is most important is, I will mention in my second argument, is that how is it impact the people also. Which is moving out to my first layer, is staying in the comfort zone hinders you from your growth. Yes, you say like, oh my god, they're afraid, like I've said before, but realize that, as I pictured before, people in the status are stuck in their comfort zone because there's a sense of familiarity and safety there. And this exact safety, familiarity and safety is harmful because human nature is to evolve, right? You are evolving over and over, not just by physically evolving, but you are evolving from your mentality. If you are keep staying there, even if you are afraid, even if you are still no thank you, even if you are feel like you said or etc., what the fact that you are have to evolve, realize that we just still have to grow even when you feel sad or etc. Realize that the world is keep evolving. Realize that it's not about only you. It's not only you can only feel sad because you will also evolving. Time change, you evolve. You will not stay in the same place. You cannot lock yourself in the one place. Why do we pushing this kind of narrative? Because realize, if you're stuck in your place, you are hindering the evolve of the human nature. And this the thing is the inherent. Is that even happen right now or maybe later in the time, human nature will evolve. And at the end of the day, it's better to popularizing this narrative because of why. Realize that people need to be evolving. And this is true, ladies and gentlemen, because why evolving is already happened in our mentality. Maybe like the first time you're debating, you feel like you can fight anyone, but at this point, maybe like you and I meeting in the grand final, have more like self-esteem or higher self-esteem. And secondly, on the second layer, they will stuck in their sadness. What it's why do people stuck in their families? No, thank you. People in the comfort zone, as I picture us, most likely to be those who are hard and those avoiding pain by being in a comfort zone and not experimenting with anything outside of their limit. They stay there. They stay in their very own comfort zone. They feel like they don't want to try anything because they are afraid of something. And when you are in that situation, you don't want to try it, right? That's what the proposition side of the house said, that they are pressure to go out. But to realize you are protecting yourself. There is a reality that you have to face out. And when you are trying to defend yourself, when you try to defend, what you feeling? Are you feeling happy with that? The proposition of that doesn't define us. They feel happy or not. But in this situation, we think that they are sad. You are defending yourself. You are avoiding the things that is harmful to you. You are avoiding things. You are avoiding failure and rejection from people because why? You are sad. You don't want to face it anymore. But realize, having this kind of feeling for a long time, having this kind of feeling like defending yourself over and over, it's actually making you feel depressed. Why you feel depressed? Because at the first time, at the very first place, you are already comfort with your sadness, you are comfort with your rejection and sadness. But in the first place, I'm here to tell you that why staying in comfort zone is not gonna help at all. The wound won't go away. You are keep your wound. You are let your wound keep on live on. And that's for the reason why you only stay there. You will keep there. There's nothing ever progress at all. You just make the situation worsen because you don't want to try something new. What is there? You try to help yourself. You don't try to help yourself at all. When you can help yourself, what is the point of it? And for the argument I broke up, I'm so proud to opposing this motion. Thank you.
The Leader of Opposition spent 7 minutes and 25 seconds. To continue the case of the government team, please welcome the Deputy Prime Minister, Choi So-yeon. To the Deputy Prime Minister, time is yours.
Hi, my name is Soyeon. My pronouns are she, her, and I'll take POIs to verbal interruption at any point. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Firstly, we as the government characterize a popular narrative as one that's so common in society that it surrounds individual lives. It affects them because it's a continuous presence within their life. While the word encourage might be used, when surrounded by this narrative day and night, this encouragement becomes pressure. And we would like to restate that encouragement does not mean suggestion. The society will still push for this to apply, thus resulting in pressure towards the individual. And hence, we as the government say that this encouraging people to leave their comfort zones is morally wrong. Two reasons as to why. Firstly, why are personal boundaries or comfort zones set? They are spaces or limits as to where one is comfortable. It's their own mental boundaries and it's a space one sets for themselves. For instance, a comfort zone for an introverted person is a room with, let's say, a maximum of 3 people because it's a place where they can be themselves and where they can feel a sense of security and not feel threatened. Essentially, comfort zones ensure that people can be themselves as a place where they will not face any stress. This is a fundamental right because every individual has a right to feel a sense of safeness and security. And yet there is constant encouragement that the opposition wishes for. Their sense of safeness and security is being breached by an outsider and not by themselves, it ruins the human right to feel at peace. Secondly, it doesn't just breach their private spaces, it also results in feelings of guilt that should not be there. Constant pressure doesn't just invade one space. It also evokes feelings of guilt, because if there's a social pressure, if everyone around you is pressuring you, it gives off the implication that by not trying to leave your comfort zone, you are in the wrong, because everyone else is saying you should. And the majority in realistically what an average person thinks is that the majority is right. Hence, they would feel guilt by not following the pressure of society. Guilt when they're doing nothing wrong, guilt for not doing something they're comfortable with, guilt for staying comfortable. Third, the site government firmly believes that the model of pushing one to leave their comfort zone is principally wrong. Are there any POIs at this point? Seeing as there are none, I'll move on to my second point. Even disregarding the debate of morality, the motion of placing constant societal pressure to the average person has no guarantee of bringing forth results. Two reasons as to why. Firstly, the only reason why maybe in social media, when one is pushed out of a comfort zone and succeed in gaining is if they have the hidden potential or the skill set to do so previously. This is only applicable if they have those interests and capabilities of surviving outside their comfort zone, because a comfort zone is only set when they know that they can thrive there. Because because these interests, capabilities, they can't be developed in a short period of time where the individual is exposed to the world outside of their comfort zone. The average person once more sets these comfort zones because they do not currently have the capabilities to properly function outside their comfort zone. Hence, with the societal pressure pushing them out, it pushes them into a world where they cannot thrive. It is illogical to think that the average person will superhumanly, in that moment, develop these skills as to adapt, because that is simply untrue. The only reason that mindset exists is because it's prevalent on social media, and that is precisely what we're trying to go against, because we're saying that this is untrue. Hence, pushing them prevents these skills from being developed over time. Secondly, sometimes, unfortunately, realistically, one simply lacks the ability, and it cannot be developed even if they're pushed out of the comfort zone, because not everyone can develop all kinds of skills. Hence, just because they're being pushed out does not guarantee any sort of success. And this is detrimental to this individual that we are talking about for two reasons. Firstly, they're less likely to step out of their comfort zones in the future, because when they are right now, they're faced with something that they are unaccustomed to. To the average person, it will result in a trauma associated with experience, because the negative experiences that they face when they aren't adapted to it will be linked to the experience of stepping out of their comfort zone or being pushed out. Hence, in the future, they will be more reluctant to try again, even by themselves, because they now like negativity, and it removes future potential of any sort, which goes against both what the government and the opposition want for the individual, and that is for this individual to gain confidence and thrive. Second point, it will result in mental and physical drawbacks, because again, this experience is draining. It's something the individual is not used to experiencing, and hence will require more energy from the person, especially if this experience was traumatizing, which we already explained why is a plausible scenario. It will eventually lead to burnout, because this energy was used with no results, and these burnouts can last for a long time. Again, comfort zones are spaces where one is comfortable with, and over time, this will expand and allow spaces for healthy growth and development. That is our best case scenario, which I'll talk about more later. But if they're pushed outside, if they're pushed out of their own mental boundaries, the constant pushing will lead to a burnout. Why is this possible in our side? Because it already happens in society. For instance, let's relate this to a common issue of studying that every student has experienced at least once in their life. There are average study average study schedules that one is already comfortable with. But if your school, if your classmates, if they push you to study outside those times, it will lead you to a burnout, because you simply aren't used to this experience. And that is precisely what we think will happen in the opposition model. Essentially, stepping out of one's comfort zone is a risk, because there's no guarantee that it will lead in anything positive. There's no guarantee that it'll lead to success, because unlike what social media in the status quo suggests, it can fail, and it is likely to fail, and it should be up to the person to take that risk. So the government's model, reminder here, is that the government never said in today's debate that leaving one's comfort zone is bad. We simply said that leaving it by outside influences, like what the model says, that is what is bad. Our model, idealistically, is that these individuals will leave their comfort zone by themselves. Because like what both the government and the opposition said, humans have a natural desire to evolve. They have a natural desire for progress. So the benefits that they mentioned from their model is not mutually exclusive, because when people, by your logic, when people are motivated to leave, they will also face all of these benefits. And you brought up the example of debating that an individual tries and tries again until they succeed and win the competition. Again, this is not mutually exclusive because our model can also lead to this result, but with a better process. And the fact that the person try and try again means that they themselves have the motivation. They can do it themselves without societal pressure. And for that, we believe that opposition has basically built our case for it. But what we also say as a government that even if they do not leave their comfort zone and still stay, that is still okay. Because one develops a comfort zone to ensure that they are safe, that they aren't stressed in there. And we as a government prioritize the individual's comfort over progress that isn't even sure. Hence, the government firmly believes that our model in which an individual should be given the right to choose their own futures stand in today's debate. Proud to propose.
The Deputy Prime Minister spent 7 minutes. To continue the case of the opposition team, please welcome the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Kalisa Nada. To the Deputy Leader of Opposition, time is yours.
I would like to chat. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
My preferred pronoun is she, her, and I would like to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, in this debate, we would like to remind you that on the opposition side of the House, that our goal in this debate is to give society more of a picture of discovering full potential. And we would like to clarify on this debate that the people that in our status quo, that people that are staying in their comfort zone tend to hide behind their fear. Going on to my first rebuttal on why our side will give basically an oppose on this motion. The opposition side of the House stated that this kind of moving out of the comfort zone, it should be on their own will. But we believe that it is not true. On our side of the House, by the SQ, if someone who has fears out of the zone and uncomfortability, if they be out also, if no one encourage them to basically do it, who will? Should we even feel guilty about pushing someone to be in their should we even feel guilty about pushing someone into discovering their own full potential? I mean, like, if it not us who basically encourage this popular narrative of if people should get out of their comfort zone, then these people will basically, and if we say that it should be on their will, as a society has a responsibility. How long are these people going to wait for themselves to basically feel like I want to get out of my comfort zone? And how about the side of the House said, and how did the opposition side of the House basically know that these people will basically get out on their own will? So at the end, it will not help. Like, waiting for them does not help, but encouraging them by basically supporting this popular narrative, encouraging people to get out of their comfort zone is the one who helps. Compared to our side of the House, when someone is stuck, no one basically pressure them to do so. Because then in our side of the House, when someone feels like this, we wanted them to get out of their comfort zone. We all involved together, which I'll talk about later on. Moving on to my second rebuttal is that the opposition side of the House stated that what if these people get out of the comfort zone and fail and they feel low? We believe on our side of the House, at least when these people failed after getting out of their comfort zone, which is worst case scenario, by the way, opposition side of the House, on our side of the House, once people fail, we will pressure them basically to get out of their comfort zone again. And because why? Because when they basically get out of it and they fail and not stuck in the failures, they're not stuck in the failure, just a zone that they feel comfortable in, because now they are basically so feel like they are fearing of any other kind of, feel like they'll feel uncomfortable and so on. Then, and even if it's true that they will feel low, at least a society feels the need to encourage people to get out of this failure. And if based on worst case scenario on proposition side of the House, at least one of them encourage them again not to be stuck on their failures. No, thank you. So someone is not staying in there. As a society, should grow together, thus encouraging someone to get out of the comfort zone and pressuring them is basically needed. But basically, at the end of the day, the opportunities that have the House that these people will basically get pressured if us as a society basically encourage them get out of their comfort zone, and us as a society has no consent over these people. We believe when we see someone like this, our goal is linking back, pushing of discovering their full potential. We should not let people feel failing and feeling like they're stuck in some zones. And even they should discover. We should push them to discover their full potential. And even if it's and if society, you said that society has no consent over these people. What society? They are also a part of society. We are also a part of society. What we evolve together. It's in our own nature. We cannot when as a society when we evolve. It's our nature to evolve together. And when these peoples are stuck, we should help them because as a society, we evolve together,
POI.
in there. No, thank you. And even if it's that this happens, it's seriously going to feel pressured. Like imagine you're stuck in a failure and people are really pressuring and encouraging you to get out of your comfort zone, get out of your failures and basically start over again and get out of your comfort zone. Are you seriously going to feel pressured by people? Isn't that going to make you like way more encouraged and spirited? People encourage and persistent people society encourage and persistently encourage them. They should be thankful that us as society feels like they need to fall, like we all are a full thing. It is not draining, which I will take in my extension. They are evolving, not the whole revoluting. Like we are evolving, not a whole revoluting. It is not draining at the end. So basically at the end, these people are not basically getting pressured, and us as society, even we actually has the responsibility to basically encourage them and pressure them to basically evolve together with us, getting out of our comfort zone, getting out of their comfort zone. That's why on our side of the house, we support the popular narratives of encouraging people to get out of their comfort zone. Which is all talk in our extension, that the likelihood is in our side of the house, we aren't going to tell people to be extreme. What we said on my first speaker said, evolving. Little by little is okay. It does not have to be like 180 change, like wow, like you're turned into a Barbie or a Barbie or whatsoever, like Transformer or whatsoever. It's evolving, not revolving. Getting out of the comfort zone is small, baby step that turns into big. We do believe that facing out of the comfort zone is really hard. Yes, but here they cannot be stuck in one zone and not evolving with everyone. This is why you search for safe spots so you could be away from your fears. On our side of the house, though even these people get out of their comfort zone, little by little is completely okay. Like if the main idea of it is to get out of the comfort zone, we encourage them. At least they have tried to get out of their comfort zone. They will make small, small progress. And if the proposition side of the house keep talking about that, like, oh, it's good, it's draining, it's evolving. We do not talk about them literally revoluting into like transformer, like changing or whatsoever. And little by little, they will basically manage to face their fears and actually discover what is their full potential. It does not need to be 180 change. Small bibbidi-bobbidi steps, right? And then that within the small step, they can basically evolve together with us as society. Then us as society that's why us in a society is the one who should be like encouraging them and pressuring them to do it, not letting them be finding it on their own, like opposite of the house said. And why is it important? It is important then realize how getting out of the comfort zone might look like. It's not draining, of course. I've stated to you why we should encourage the popular narrative, encourage people to get out of the comfort zone. Hence, the issue that I brought up, I've never been so proud to oppose.
The Deputy Leader of Opposition spent 7 minutes and 12 seconds. To complete the case of the government team, please welcome the government whip, Giovanna. To the government whip, time is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, my name is Giovanna. I will be speaking as your government whip. I will be taking my POIs through verbal interruption, and please feel free to unmute whenever you deem fit. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel debater, side government has already won because side opposition has one, in fact, built our case for us. And 2, the opposition's argument revolves around one word: progress. And in my speech, I will disprove this point if this motion passes, I will disprove their entire argument, which is once again, progress. It can be summarized by progress. Firstly, they didn't properly regard our points about feeling uncomfortable outside the comfort zone and how that mentally drains someone, and how pushing someone out of the comfort zone doesn't mean it causes them to change. It doesn't force them to change. They might not adapt to the situation, and they did not address that possibility. Now, moving on to the clashes, the government has two clashes. For this debate, I will be assuming that I'll be assuming that our definitions of comfort zone is the same because they did not properly define the comfort zone to be a different definition than ours. So firstly, is forcing the average person out of their comfort zone morally correct? For this point, we will be actually using the opposition's word against them. The opposition has admitted that there is pressure on people to leave their comfort zone, and they have justified this by stating that the world is evolving, and hence people should evolve to keep up with the world. They've mentioned that humans have a natural desire to progress, and hence their comfort zone is their natural instinct to the rate they're comfortable at evolving at. And it's just a fact that everyone is going to grow because, as they said, the world keeps evolving. Why does the world keep evolving? Because humans evolve, and humans have a natural desire to evolve. So we should normalize the fact that everybody has a different rate at which they evolve, and everybody has a different rate which shouldn't be forced upon them to expand their comfort zone and to what extent they're comfortable with in progressing and becoming a better human being. Okay, so they've also brought them that they've also mentioned that if nobody encourages them, then who will? However, again, humans have a natural desire to grow because the world is evolving, and they will notice if they're behind. It is a human instinct to realize they're behind and want to feel validated and part of the crowd. And hence they will realize that if that they are behind the world, yet if they're in their comfort zone and they're already part of the group that is progressing with the world, they should have no reason to leave their comfort zone just to become a better person. Why? Because their comfort zone is their natural instinct telling them what they're comfortable with doing and to what extent they're comfortable with doing. And as they should listen to that, because the world should not standardize at what rate an individual should grow, at what rate an individual should progress, what activities an individual should do, and how the individual should do it. It should not be something the world dictates. And by imposing this social pressure, which my second speaker has already elaborated on and my first speaker as well, on how massive this pressure is and why it's so detrimental to individuals, and how it's not simply suggestions, that it does force someone to grow at a rate they're not comfortable with. And hence this is morally wrong, because once again they are taking a risk, and that risk should be taken when they decide they're mentally ready and not when the world decides they're mentally ready. Okay, secondly, they've also asked how long does it feel that people feel that they can leave the comfort zone? And in fact, they don't have to. Their comfort zone will expand naturally on what they feel they're ready to do. And if they have interest in what's going on outside their comfort zone, the initiative to leave their comfort zone will come naturally. Although there will be fear and anxiety, the want to try new things, the want to become someone else, I'll take that.
How does yours say that the comfort zone will expand? How does it work? They are protecting themselves, aren't they? So how could it expand?
Exactly. You protect yourself with the comfort zone because you think when you're mentally ready to expand, you will. For example, let's say you're going up grades. There's no essentially, let's say when you level up a grade, essentially there's no necessarily not being mentally ready for a grade. There's no necessarily okay, so let's say you're a first grader. When you level up to a second grader, it is because you're most likely mentally ready. It is because you've taken the time to study the foundation and you have realized your potential in learning new things. You have realized that you understand your material enough to become a second grader, if that makes sense. Another example you have used is love. So I will use that example against you. Basically, you have said that people who are not ready to love should be forced to love. However, this is wrong because in this case, it is an emotional choice. And in emotional choices, you should listen to whether you're emotionally and mentally ready. And this is done by self-healing and self-growth. And self-growth cannot be dictated by the people around you. It is dictated by yourself. It cannot be dictated by society. It cannot be dictated whether if you look ready, you are ready. That is simply untrue. And hence, that is how the comfort zone expands. Those are just a couple of examples of how the comfort zone expands. Second clash is will pushing people out of the comfort zone be efficient? It won't be. Why? Because as we mentioned earlier, not pushing someone out of the comfort zone doesn't mean that they'll naturally adapt to it. Some people will just be uncomfortable, and some people will have negative associations with not only that activity, but also leaving the comfort zone in general, and hence they will be less likely to leave the comfort zone because they have negative associations and negative experience with leaving the comfort zone, and by being forced out of it without being mentally ready for the rejection and failure that comes with coming out of the comfort zone. They've also mentioned that this is pushing to discovering their full potential, but this is not mutually exclusive to their side. It can't be within the comfort zone, because pushing to discover their full potential doesn't equate pushing your boundaries constantly to the extent that you're uncomfortable and risking your mental health because society pressures you to leave the comfort zone. And lastly, they said if they fail, we will simply pressure them again, which is wrong, because constantly pressuring someone is not simply encouraging them. At the end of it, it is forcing them. It is not in fact, it goes against the emotion itself, because constantly pressuring someone is basically gaslighting them and basically forcing them into a societal norm that should not exist in the first place. So let me weigh our two cases. In our worst scenarios, people stay within their comfort zones and they grow at rates that they feel is best for them. As I mentioned earlier, comfort zones do expand. And secondly, the world progresses slower as a whole, because then the pressure to leave the comfort zone isn't so apparent on everyone. So everyone is growing at a slower rate, at a more personal rate. In their best case scenario, in their best case scenario, everybody is growing at a constant rate and everybody is successful at it. However, people will still feel forced, and people will still feel like people will still be forced out of their comfort zone, and they will still be uncomfortable with their identity because they're constantly being forced to leave their comfort zone, because they're constantly told that their boundaries that don't matter, that their mental boundaries don't matter, and that their emotional boundaries don't matter. And because of this, our worst case scenario morally is better than their best case scenario. And because of the reasons stated, ladies and gentlemen, panel debaters, the government must and should win. Very proud to propose.
The government whip spent 7 minutes and 34 seconds. To complete the case of the opposition team, please welcome the opposition whip, Rona. To the opposition whip, time is yours.
All right, I'm checking on my audible.
Yes, you are.
Anyone? Okay, good. Right. Let me set up my timer for a second. Right. And my speech. Oh yeah. By the way, my preferred pronouns are she, her, and my POI preference is if a verbal. So just unmute yourself, because I will not be looking at chat. And my speech will begin in 3, 2, 1. All right, panels. Let me remind you again that this debate is about discussing on how to philosophically assess the problem of staying in the comfort zone. Right. Okay. Before I get into any of my clashes, I will give you a brief summary of our case. We gave two arguments. First of all, principally, we argued that it's human nature to want to evolve, which makes it justifiable to have a proper narrative to want someone to get out of their comfort zone. And secondly, practically, we argued two layers. First one being staying in your comfort zone without further push from society will hinder you from finding your full potential. And secondly, we argued that staying in your comfort zone without any push from society can lead you to stay in your little bubble of sadness instead of actually progressing and move on and be happier with your life. All right. In today's debate, there are two main themes in this debate. First of all is like progress, and second of all is like outside factors. But before I move on to my classes, are there any POIs? All right, I'll take that as no POI. Right, so moving on to the first clash, which is progress, right? Let's explicitly engage with their arguments about this. First of all, they said that it's morally and ethically wrong to push someone out of their will to go out of their comfort zone, right? Unless it's by their own will, because they'll be more incentivized on their own, and if not, they'll just experience more sadness. Well, my response to that is, first of all, yes, okay, we've admit that the popular narrative does take care. No, thank you. Does take a role into pushing someone against their will. And that isn't a good thing, but realize the likelihood of someone getting out of their comfort zone is unlikely already, right? We've already like explained this to you over and over again. People in their comfort zone are already familiar with the situation and is stuck there because being in their little bubble is all that they know. So really the likelihood that Prime Minister claims these people have on wanting to get out of their comfort zone on their own is already so slim that it cannot possibly run as their main substantive case that they like to repeat over and over again. And secondly, they mentioned that the people, the vulnerable people will feel underachieving and it will evoke feelings of guilt. Well, first of all, okay, panels, I admit that when someone gets pushed out of their comfort zone and, for example, they fail, they'll feel like they aren't as worthy as their peers, for example, right? And the pressure from society is like getting to them, etc., etc. But realize that their point here is actually aiding our case. If anything, it's just going to help our case. Because if someone is in their comfort zone, sure, in short term, they'll feel happy, they'll feel safe, they have a little safety net that they can rely on. But realize if they stay there in the long run, they'll end up being behind their peers anyways, like in long term. At the end of the day, them feeling unworthy will happen if they stay in the comfort zone or not. Except under our side, no thank you. Except under our side, we give more of a benefit because at least we offer these people a chance to find themselves again, to push them to their fullest, to help guide them through their hardships. Right. And thirdly, they said that trauma will be linked to going out of their comfort zone. Like in the future, they will be less incentivized to actually want to go out of their comfort zone. My response to that is, first of all, this is such a worst case scenario that they're playing by. But even if this were to happen, right, these people aren't actually excluded from a support system, right? We've never claimed that they're going to be on their own with no help, like a lone wolf with no support system. These people, at the very least, still get and like these people at the very least still get the benefit of knowing that at least they tried, at least they took the bullet. Because at the end of the day, it's better to say, oh, I can't believe I did that, rather than I can't believe I didn't take the chance. Because knowing that you could have been something more, but you didn't take the chance in the past will only hurt someone more mentally, because they'll wish that they were more like they're on par with their peers. And secondly, you said that if they progress now, they'll get trying to progressing, and in the future they'll be less incentivized, right? But realize that people under their side of the house and under their side wouldn't need to get out of their comfort zone in the future. They've already improved enough in their youth to fulfill their natural wishes. And in mild case scenario, they'll be thankful that they'll take the chance instead of dodging the bullet. So tipping point, what have I proved to you here? Well, we win this clash because, first of all, people are already less likely to go under their side to go improve and on being a better version of themselves. And secondly, we gave you a proper short versus long-term analysis on how their side would just fail. And secondly, we prove why taking the bullet is better than dodging it. No, thank you. And moving on to the second clash, which is the outside factors. Let's explicitly engage in what their arguments, what they said, right? They said that there are no failure stories in social media. Well, first of all, this just is not true in like status quo, because realize that in the society we live in, imperfection and failure is actually like almost glorified. You can see in TikTok posts or on Instagram where people are sharing their day-to-day lives, from the best thing that they've ever experienced to like the worst hardships that they've ever experienced. Like take, for example, the user Spence Wua, who showed his ups and downs in his relationship, struggling with self-image, you name it. And with this in mind, people would just be more influenced to get out of their comfort zone by external factors, which is social media. And lastly, they mentioned that the popular narrative is pressure from society, right? And basically their whole case is revolving around consent. Well, my response to that is, yes, that pressure is one of the form of popular narratives, but there are other forms of this popular narrative that proposition is clearly and blatantly ignoring, right? Like, because for example, actual support, examples of other popular narratives is that actual support from like friends and family, constant influence from social media, which I have explained positively influence people to get out of their comfort zone in my last subclass. And secondly, motivation at the end of the day isn't just from external factor, that it's also from external factors as well. You can't just claim that internal factor is like the only valid form of like motivation that they love to claim on and on again. And just because there are some parts of like society that are pressuring them to like move on, doesn't mean that it is completely out of their hands, where they're like unconsciously doing something, because at the end of the day, what they do is because they intend on doing it. So we win on the concept of consent. So the both world comparisons here, the only benefit that they bring is that people will have a safety net, whereas the harm outweighs their benefit, because people I've already like flipped all the arguments on them. And for all those reasons, I am so proud to oppose this motion.
The opposition whip spent 7 minutes and 19 seconds. To close the case of the opposition team, please welcome the reply speaker from the opposition side of the House, Karen. To the reply speaker, time is yours.
Okay, I would like to check am I audible and not lagging.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, so yeah, I would like to put on my numbers and then, okay. My pronounce is she, her, and I'm going to start my reply speakers in 3, 2, 1. Well, within all the argument that we have broke up in this debate panel and this motion, it is a summary of our case and what their case and their case also. And a point of clarification here is today. That is one point of clarification that we would like to clarify that on our side of the House, comfort zones mean people hiding from their fears. And a point of discussion here is that firstly, progress, the class that happened here is the progress. First, they say that it's morally and ethically wrong to put someone out of their conversation, out of their comfort zone, unless it's by their own will. Likelihood of someone getting out of the comfort zone of their will is so thin. Yes, you said they will expand their comfort zone, but realize expanding that comfort zone, it will be I'll be giving some analysis of that. That is, I've already explained by a second term, but okay, I would say that expanding it's still the same. How could you okay, you say you feel like, okay, I feel like I understand the material for the second grade, let's say, but you will change it, not because you are feel like, okay, I can change it, but you are understand or try to do the second grade materials because you are pushed, you are already I was like leveling up your class or grade. That has happened because there is still a pressure from the people, and secondly, they feel underestimating it evokes feelings of guilt. This is actually aid to our case because on the sustainable team term on this is a non-beneficial thing, and thirdly, trauma will be linked to go out of the comfort zone. At least it's better for us to try than already stay there and embrace your trauma for a long time. My question is that how long you will keep your trauma? Is it till the end of your life to be worked, or exactly you want to keep it for the rest of your life? Like we already stated from the very start, human is evolving, and you also agree that human is evolving, which is why you said that you can expand the comfort zone. And the second class is about the outside factors. And firstly, they say that no failure stories in the social media. In our society, experiments and flaws are glorified. Realize that people are not actually that perfect, and the failure story is not portrayed because they realize that this is how the medias work, and then also it's always imperfection and nothing is always good, and realize that the algorithm or something is actually glorified, etc. And secondly, the narrative is pressure from the society, but realize that the problem is inside is ignoring that there are other forms on how this popular narrative can manifest in support, which is support from the family, friends and family, and etc. And then we will state the argument that we've rebutted from the first and third the last of this debate. That is, firstly, what if these people get out of their comfort zone and fail, and they will feel low, right? That's what you stated. And even if it's true that they will feel low, at least we as a society feels the need to encourage them to get out of their failures, get out of the comfort zone. So someone, yes, you say it's morally incorrect to choosing or gaslight people, but someone is not still there. Like we said before, staying there is the same as you keeping your wound till the very end of your life. This is not good, everyone, because how you will still depressed. That it's already explained by my previous speaker. And then secondly, and it is that I explained that, and then my third speaker said, but realize that how could you finally say that, oh, I'm actually good at this, and they defend themselves, and they defend themselves, but how can they actually think they can go through this or etc. And they can actually still expand this when they are actually still a friend. And human is social being. Of course, before expand it, they will find some sort of a fight from people. Like I said before, like, okay, I finally like feel comfortable with the second grade materials. Okay, I will next it. But that's what happened without the encouragement of the people in the society that, let's say, your classmate or your teacher, etc. And secondly, and realize there is still pressure from other the fact that you're getting to those class and etc. And secondly, the trauma will be like to going out of the comfort zone in the future. pressure, they will stand in their group. But realize that under this side, the people wouldn't even to get out of the comfort zone in the future. They've already improved enough in Joe to fulfill their natural wishes, and etc. In the mild case scenario, they will thankful that they'll take the change or dodge in the ball. And even if it were to happen, they are excluded from the support system. They will never claim that they're gonna be on their own. No help and support system. These people are fairly still get the benefit of knowing at least they could try, at least they try. And the argument that still stands in this debate is staying in the comfort zone, hide from growth, and its comfort zone will make them stuck in the set aside by provinces didn't even been able to tackle this argument. And panels with the arguments and with the arguments and everything that we've rebutted, we opposition side really proud to post.
The reply speaker from the opposition side of the House spent 4 minutes and 30 seconds. To close the debate, please welcome the reply speaker from the government side of the House. Choi Soyeon, to the reply speaker, time is yours.
Okay, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Firstly, let's start. I'll start with the opposition's model that the world or the society would pressurize individuals into leaving their comfort zones. We identified through today's debate 3 problems with this model. Firstly, the opposition is stuck on the wrong notion that pushing one outside of their comfort zone naturally leads to one's potential being unlocked. However, they provide no structural reasoning as to why. Unlike them, the government has provided reasons as to why this is simply untrue. We talked about how potential doesn't always exist, and even if it does, site government also talked about how leaving one's comfort zone doesn't immediately result in this potential being unlocked. Social media and the status quo, unfortunately, it sets the wrong idea that only by putting forth success stories and establish the wrong idea of comfort zones that it should be broken. The government clearly identified how this is, unfortunately, the misconception that the opposition fell into. And with these 2 reasons above, broke down why this is a wrong assumption. Second problem, site government brought up the idea how this will affect the individual when this pressure fails, because we've already established that failing is more likely as opposed to succeeding. Opposition said that they'll pressure them again and again to try harder if this failure exists. This is illogical and simply not true and a wrong tactic. They did not rebut the idea how this is morally wrong to the individual. They even accepted this, and that it invades one's right to peace and comfort, and that evokes feelings of guilt that shouldn't be there. It's like opposition accepted these problems. Hence the government's argument that by pushing these boundaries is principally wrong towards the individual. This argument still stands. And site opposition did not consider the possibility of failure, which isn't only wrong, but proves that they did not consider any of their own disadvantages or negative impacts, proving the unreliability of their hypothetical world that is presented today. Lastly, again, it's not mutually exclusive. Every benefit they've talked about is not mutually exclusive to their own model. Here, I'll introduce both our side's best and worst case scenarios. The government's best case scenario, where an individual breaks out of their comfort zone individually of their own free will. The opposition's best case scenario, that they break out of their comfort zones by outside pressure successfully, that there's no negative drawbacks that the side government has mentioned. Our best case scenario is still more likely to happen, because throughout today's debate, side government has provided reasons as to why opposition's model in which society pushes for an individual has so many negative drawbacks. Again, there's no possibility of succeeding, and even if there is, there's no possibility. If there's no possibility of succeeding, and even if there is a possibility, there's no guarantee that that possibility will exist, will appear immediately. And so when considering or when weighing our best case scenarios, it is evident that our best case scenario, it's like government's best case scenario trumps theirs. And even when looking at our worst case scenarios of the individual remaining in their comfort zones in our model, it's still okay. We define comfort zones as an area of space where one does not feel stressed, where one feels safe. That was our characterization of comfort zones, and opposition provided none. They simply assume that an individual will feel sad when they remain in their comfort zone, which is firstly simply untrue. And even if it might be true, they had to provide an explanation as to why, but they did not. Hence, in today's debate, government refuses to consider their definition of a comfort zone as one plain sad. Secondly, the point developed by the opposition. Opposition themselves said human nature is to develop continuously. And that is precisely why throughout the debate, we have provided an alternative, better model. Because even if an individual remains in their comfort zones as a worst case scenario, it's okay, because it is nature for them to develop within their comfort zones anyway. So even if they don't leave, side government argues that it is still okay. And as an average individual, they will not be stagnant, even if they stay, even in the worst case scenario. This is much better than the opposition's worst case scenario, in which after introduced to the world outside their comfort zone, they will fail to excel and come back with only the negative drawbacks. Hence, when weighing the two models up to today's debate, SELAT government has shown how ours is better on every single level and is extremely proud to propose.
The reply speaker from the government side of the House spent 4 minutes and 13 seconds. That is the end of the U-16 grand final round. This is a silent round and there will be no verbal adjudications. Debaters and spectators are expected to head back to the main room. Thank you.